Hello, everyone. This is Philip Yun again. So day one of GPF 2020 is almost done. And as we stated at the outset, this first day was about getting a better understanding of the complexity of climate change. And as we found out, it touches on everything that we do and everything we're concerned about in so many profound ways. Today, to end day one, I'm most pleased to host a conversation with former United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. From the moment he became Secretary General in 2007, Ban Ki-moon made climate change a top priority. The 2007 Climate Change Summit, which brought together 180 countries at the highest levels, was one of his very first initiatives. This then led to, as we know, the historic 2016 Paris Climate Accord, which the United States has since withdrawn from. There'll be more on that, actually. Since stepping down from the UN in 2016, Ban Ki-moon continues his public service to the rest of the world. He regularly calls attention, among many issues, to ongoing conflicts around the globe, to the increased economic disparity worldwide, and of course, to the need of all of us to act now on climate change. On a personal note, I first met the Secretary General almost 25 years ago when I was a young diplomat at the State Department, and I had the great honor of working with him pretty closely on North Korea-related issues. He was then, as he is now, one of the most highly respected and liked individuals who have ever worked at the South Korean Foreign Ministry. And I can say personally, you will not find a person more dedicated to serving the greater good, a warmer human being, and a better example about how we can all make a difference. So, Mr. Secretary General, I just can't tell you how pleased I am, how delighted I am to be for you to be here with us today and to have a chance to talk with you. It's been so long.
It's a great pleasure to see you again, Philip Yun, and thank you very much for your very kind words. I don't know whether I deserve that kind of compliments, but I'm still working hard.
Yes.
Since my retirement from the United Nations, my commitment has never changed.
Yes, and thank you for that. So we have only a few minutes here, about 15 minutes. Let's get started, if it's okay. So in your 10 years as Secretary General, you successfully shepherded 2 signature agreements for the 193 member countries of the United Nations. First, there was the Agenda 2030 with its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. And second, as we talked about before, the Paris Climate Accord. Looking at the Paris Climate Accord today, where has it succeeded and where has it failed? And of course, please let us know how much more complicated or not it has been with the United States opting out.
Thank you again. This is the most important issue, serious issues humankind is now facing and will continue to face. This is climate change is an existential threat to humankind. I have been working very hard, as you said, and there was a moment when the whole international community was united together. That was possible because of the global leaders like President of the United States, then President Barack Obama, and also Chinese President Xi Jinping, and President Hollande of France. And there's so many, all the global leaders were united together with the United Nations. And I was always been working together with them. At this time, while we have been working very hard, but still there are so many things which have to be done urgently because nature is giving us a serious warning. As Pope Francis just last April said that the current disasters which we are facing may be the response of nature. I have been calling to world's people that nature is going its own way, and they are sending us a strong warning. So it is the humankind which we have to listen to the voices of the our Mother Nature. Again, quoting Pope Francis, he said that, I met him last year in the Vatican. He said, God always forgives, but nature never forgives. Now, what is lacking at this time? Of course, in terms of ambition levels, we are far, below. But most importantly, we are lacking conspicuously the global leadership. Unfortunately, United States President Donald Trump has decided to withdraw from the Paris Climate Change Agreement. That was the work of 197 state parties, more than the number of UN member states. Then it's the only United States who has withdrawn from this. It will become effective on November 4th, just one day after presidential election. I am encouraged that one of the presidential candidates, Joe Biden, promised that if and when he is elected, he will make sure that U.S. will return to Paris Climate Change Agreement. President Trump's decision to withdraw was politically very short-sighted, economically irresponsible, and scientifically very wrong. So he is based on wrong scientific belief of his own. Therefore, I'm urging him to come back to Paris Climate Change Agreement. It was a terrible misjudgment that betrays the true interest of his country. But I have been heartened by the determined response of many American people, starting from governors of major states like California, Oregon, Wisconsin, New York, Massachusetts. At least 12 governors, they have confirmed, and at least 350 mayors of major cities have confirmed. At least more than 1,000 business firms. They confirmed that the only way for humankind and their businesses and their country can survive is to implement Paris Climate Change Agreement. And therefore, I am very much supporting what is known as "We Are Still in" campaign among American leaders. And I'm also urging all leaders of the world to do their utmost efforts before it is too late, before we regret for our succeeding generations. We have a moral and political responsibility to make sure that we leave this planet Earth sustainable and climate resilient to our succeeding generation.
So, Mr. Secretary General, I know that a lot of our participants may have some questions about the Sustainable Development Goals that you were so critical in helping to establish. And we know that climate change affects almost all of them. Very quickly, can you talk to us how you might prioritize those actions needed at climate change on the international level to advance the SDGs?
As you may see, I'm still wearing, I have been carrying this SDG button all the times to make people realize what this is about. A lot of people ask me questions, what is that? So this is United Nations designated mark button to make sure that everybody understands what SDG means. Sustainable Development Goals with 17 goals are the most far-reaching and most ambitious visions the United Nations has ever presented to the world's people to make sure that we live in a sustainable world, to make sure that should be nobody who would suffer from abject poverty, who would die from preventable diseases, and there should be no children, school-aged children who would be out of school, and et cetera, et cetera. So there are 17 goals, including climate change. So climate change is one of the 17 goals, but because of the importance and urgency of the climate phenomenon, the member states have decided to have a separate track to negotiate on climate agreement. So this is a treaty. Treaty is mandatory, while other 16 goals, remaining 16 goals may be political declaration, but they are very, very important. It's vital that SDGs are viewed holistically and not seen as existing in a separate silo to climate. So all 17 goals are interrelated.
And then, Secretary General, so we know that this is a gathering of philanthropists and NGOs all working together. Can you maybe just talk about your views about what philanthropy and civil society can do most effectively to attain those goals in response, the SDG goals in response to climate change?
Philanthropy has a critical role to play, both as a bridge between worlds of business and development, and as a way of channeling innovation and entrepreneurship in the service of sustainability. That means this is one very important part of forging a global partnership. Without partnership, nothing can be done. There should be a strong tripartite pillar of partnership: government leaders, business leaders, and civil society. Maybe philanthropists may belong to civil society. Philanthropic foundations like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, George Soros, Ted Turner, there are a lot of philanthropists. I think they constitute an immense resource in terms of financial capital and also human expertise. The insight and the experience of philanthropists can help politicians and the scientists, the policymakers approach challenges in a different and more efficient way. Moreover, they can provide essential capacity building and mentoring to civil society and the grassroots level institutions across global south. It is very important that developed global north must help global south, because they do not have the capacity and resources. It is unfair that those people who have contributed the least to current global problems should bear brunt of their problems on their part. Therefore, the role of philanthropists is there.
So I know that you've just talked about the importance of civil society, and I know there's the Kimoon Center for Global Citizens. So before I go on to that, because I think it's really important people hear about that work that is going on, I wanted to ask about the mass movements that are going around in the world. I mean, you have specifically commended the spirit of our young people. And I think you've said, quote, young people protesting around the world speak more sense than many world leaders. I think that's what you said. And then you've said that young people have succeeded in bringing the world's attention to climate change where many others have failed. So in the United States in recent months, we've seen the protest movements about racial inequality and injustice. How important is youth activism, and how can we harness it to take meaningful action on climate change?
While serving at the United Nations, I have been urging the world leaders, listen to the voices of the people, what their challenges and aspirations are. A lot of people, global leaders, they have not been listening properly. We are living in a world where people's voice are not well heard and respected. That's why there are many people who are expressing their anger. The protest, in terms of human rights, is an inalienable right of the people and is a critical role in these troubled times. Millions of people around the world have been inspired by what is known as Black Lives Matter protest to actively confront systemic racism in their own communities. In the same way, young climate activists like Vanessa Nakate of Uganda, with whom I had very good, nice video talks, Zoom talks a few days ago, and also Greta Thunberg, who has been working, speaking out to world leaders to do their own part to make sure that this world can be sustainable. They have been relentless in their determination to keep climate change, sustainable development at the top of the global agenda, and voicing not just the fears of youth, but also their determination to work for a positive future. Successful protest movements do not just stay on the street and do not indulge in performative slogans or inflated rhetorics. In this regard, I know that the people in Belarus are also speaking out. Recently, in my capacity as a deputy chair of the elders, I have sent him a letter to President of Lukashenko of Belarus. But just last week, then, Mr. President, please listen to the voices of the people and do what is right for yourself, your country, and your people. And I'm going to really continue my such a role.
Okay, thank you. So let's, I think we have time for maybe one other question that I wanted to ask. Tell us a little bit about the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizens. And I think in that context, I think what you're doing there as well is, you know, given what we know about climate change and given what we're witnessing around the world in terms of melting ice, rising sea levels, you know, extreme weather events. I mean, we have wildfires here going like crazy here in California. In your view, how much time do we have, and what actions can we take now to accelerate? And, you know, and the other part is, you know, are you optimistic? How do you feel about all of what we're doing at this point and what we need to do to move forward?
Basically, I am an optimist. And without being an optimist, you cannot handle all these issues. When you are pessimist, you are not moving. You are not moving. But even though I am often, you know, disappointed by what is happening, by the leaders who are not doing properly, that's why I have been closely watching the behaviors and mindset and leadership style of global leaders during the last 10 years. One thing which comes out conspicuously is that they are mostly lacking global citizenship. And most, at best, they are the national leaders. When they come to the United Nations, they pledge everything. I will do this and that for humanity, for the world. Once they are flying out of JFK airport, then they become hostages of national agenda. That's what I felt very sorry, very regrettable. That's why as soon as I retired from the United Nations, I thought that my role should be to foster global citizenship among youth. I do not have much hope for current global leaders. So it's important to foster global citizenship among youth and women empowerment. That's why I decided to establish, together with my good longtime friend and colleague, President Heinz Fischer of Austria. We are both co-chairmen and established the Ban Ki-moon Center for Global Citizenship in Vienna, where there are many UN organizations. UN headquarters is located in Vienna. And then I've been reaching out to world's people. Then following year, 2019, last year, I thought that I need to complement my work for Global Citizenship Center. So I established another center, foundation in Seoul, Ban Ki-moon Foundation for a Better Future. This is mutually reinforcing. Now, for example, COVID-19 pandemic has shown how we are all bound together by our common humanity And that solidarity is essential in overcoming common challenges. These solidarities and humanity come only from when you have global mind, global vision based on global citizenship. I can tell you one episode which I experienced when I was a young boy.
So we have about, very quickly if we can, we're running out of time very shortly. Thank you, please.
In 1962, I met President John F. Kennedy at the White House as a young high school boy. He told me that national boundaries do not mean much during Cold War. But what is important for you young people is to whether you are ready to extend your helping hands to others. This is compassion. A lot of leaders have passion only. But this passion must be accompanied with compassion for others. That is a global citizenship. That is why I'm working to make this world better for all.
Okay. Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, thank you very much. It was wonderful to see you and wonderful to talk with you. Please take care. And we are done with this session. Hold on one second while we do a couple wrap-ups.
Thank you very much. It has been a great honor and pleasure to have this occasion with you. Yeah.
Thank you. So this brings us to the end of our first day at GPF. We started off with a challenge from Hewlett Foundation President Larry Kramer, and we ended with a similar challenge and array of hope and optimism from former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Please remember these touchstones that I talked about at the start of day one today: insight, action, and purpose. Tomorrow morning, we'll take a deeper dive into the ways that climate change intrinsically affects everything the philanthropic community cares about. We'll hear about those challenging standards and practices and those who are paving the way for a more diverse and inclusive climate movement. We start at 8 a.m. Pacific time with the former president of Ireland, Mary Robinson, in conversation with Wanjira Maathai, vice president and regional director for Africa World Resources Institute. We'll see you tomorrow.